What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're looking at some more r/AmITheA butthole. If you're new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe and maybe that notification bell too, as it all truly helps out our channel. And don't forget, we are on podcast 2 now as well, so if you fancy taking me with you when you go out, feel free to do so. And also consider supporting the channel, as it truly really does help us out. And with that being said, let's get in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for refusing to split my inheritance with my siblings? I try to summarise as much as possible. I, female 19, have an estranged grandpa more or less. He's my dad's father, but my dad hardly had a relationship with him. I have 2 other siblings, one younger 13 and one older 26. My grandma divorced my grandpa when my dad was only 10, so he lived with my grandpa his whole life in a different state and didn't see him. When he got older, he saw him a little more, and my grandpa started coming around a little bit more as well. He'd stay for a week at a time and then go home. He was an old, bitter man, to be honest. He never got remarried and lived his whole life in a coastal town with the same friends he's had his whole life. He wasn't pleasant to be around and could hold grudges longer than anyone I've ever met. But regardless of this, he was filthy rich. He owned a successful business that he sold for $1 million. He retired after selling, but his house sits on an island, as well as the biggest piece of land on the island, so it was sold for well over $3 million. I was never close with my grandpa, but I took after his sister, who was an RN, is that a registered nurse? And he adores her. He always told me that he was proud to see me follow in her footsteps. He died a few months ago. Since then, my family has been torn apart. He left everything to me. He essentially liquidated all of his assets and it ended up being close to $8 million. I was shocked. I didn't and still don't know what to do with the money, but I'm going to save it. My dad and stepmom, as well as my siblings, are hounding me to split the money with them. I just can't do it. My dad is an alcoholic who never said anything nice about his dad. Despite him being bitter, my grandpa actually bought my dad a $300,000 house. My dad would 100% drink away any money given to him. As far as my siblings, my brother has full financial support from my grandma, as he is the favourite and he's very wasteful and ungrateful. He never talks to me and is always very mean to me when he does. My little sister is the only person I've actually considered. She's very young and that's the only thing stopping me. Her mum is money orientated and would take the money from her, so I'm waiting until she turns 18 and I offer to pay for her college. But now my family is telling me I'm unfair and the money doesn't belong to me and I'm not deserving of it. That I'm too young and I'll waste it on cars and clothes. I don't agree, and now they're all threatening to cut me off and never to speak to me, or even sue me if I don't give them all a chunk of the money. I don't know what to do and I'm buckling under the pressure here. I've already had 2 police officers out to my house because my dad is claiming I stole the money from him. Everything was through an attorney. I know I did nothing wrong legally, but morally, I don't know. So, am I the arsehole? The first comment comes from Green Apple 111. Not the arsehole. My god, these entitled people. If they want to cut you off for the money that your grandpa willed to you, show them the door. Buy yourself a lovely home and move away from them. Pay for your sister's college and save the rest. Edit, thank you for my first silver. Woohoo! And OP, be careful of any brand new friends you may encounter. There be so many at your age. So many stories online of how young people get a lump sum of money yet lose it all. It's easier to make money than to keep it. Best to check with a financial advisor to invest and hopefully just live on the interest. Like many on here have suggested, if you haven't already. Immortal000 replies, hijacking the top comment. If you want to show right now that you are giving your younger sister the money, put it in a trust that only she can access at 18 or 21. Talk with a financial advisor/lawyer to set this up. That way the mum can have access to it and it will be there for your sister should anything happen to you in the meantime. With that amount of money, I would speak to a financial advisor no matter what. It's very easy to blow through the money, not the arsehole. You know, the way the family is acting like just so entitled, thinking they deserve it, that pissed me off instantly and I wouldn't want to give it to them just for that reason. I can be a little bit petty like that too, you know. And I don't know why they think they're entitled to it, because they wanted nothing to do with the grandpa whilst he was alive, so why do they think that they should have it as well? I just don't understand that. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below and don't forget to vote on the poll in the description. And the next story is from Just Barge Right In. Am I the arsehole for kicking my roommate out for something that her friend did? I'm a 37-year-old man, my roommate is an early 30s woman. I rent a 2-bedroom house and it had a spare room, so I decided to look for a roommate last year. I had a couple of people interested, but a friend asked me for a favour and I let her move in. She pays about 30% of the rent because that's all she can afford. My roommate had one particularly good friend who she invites over regularly. I don't like that woman at all. She is loud, self-centered and had no concept of boundaries, property or privacy. She has accidentally eaten my food or drunk my beer several times when she came over, and I've voiced my opinion about her to my roommate regularly. My roommate's response has always been, as long as I'm paying my part of the rent, the company I keep is between them and me. On Saturday night, she invited her friend over. As I often am in my room, I was completely naked, lying over my covers, reading a book. I like being naked and expect a reasonable amount of privacy from civilized people. When my roommate was in the bathroom, my door flew open like it was rammed by a siege engine. Her friend had barged in to surprise me, and instead of frantically apologising for violating my privacy and seeing me naked, she burst out laughing as I fumbled to cover myself. By now my roommate had come out of the bathroom and her friend shouted to her, "I saw his little..." My roommate snort laughed loudly. The next morning my roommate was hungover, and so I told her that her time in the house was over and that she had a month to vacate. I looked up the laws in my state, and since I'm the only person on the lease, I can legally kick her out as long as I give her proper notice. She told me that she warned her roommate about privacy after what happened, and I told her I don't care at all. She brought that woman into the house, she was entertained by my embarrassment, and I wasn't comfortable living with her another day. I told her if it were legal, I'd kick her out that second. My roommate has been nasty with me all week, saying that she has nowhere to go. I don't care and kept telling her that she might want to start looking. Our mutual friend, who I originally did the favour for, had sided with her completely, and so I just blocked him. Am I going too far here? Or am I not the arsehole in this case? The first comment comes from just my 2 cents for you. Not the arsehole, your roommate is responsible for her guest behaviours. Stealing by a friend would have been enough to kick her out, but laughing at you instead of kicking her friend out after she treated you like that was so far out of line, she doesn't deserve better. She enabled her friend to make you feel unsafe for your privacy in your own home, and nobody has to live with that. It's just the consequences of her actions. And that pretty much says it all for this post, I think. Not only the fact is she only paying 30% and then treating you like shit by saying it's my friend and I pay you rent so I can bring him round whatever. You thought she'd be a bit more humble about it, you know. If someone burst in on my privacy when I'm butt naked, her ass would be kicked out there and then. What do you guys think of the story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on the poll in the description. Our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for grounding my daughter until she apologises to my boyfriend? My boyfriend, 22 male of 5 months, moved in when lockdown started happening. I, 31, was widowed a year ago, and I feel so lucky to have found love again. Yesterday I came home from shopping and saw my daughter, 13, crying. My late husband owned a pottery studio and would gift specially designed plates and cups to my daughter. We've been keeping those pieces in the same cabinet as the fine china. Today she opens the dishwasher and comes to see that my boyfriend and the friends he had over had used the plates and cups her dad designed for her. And one of the cups was particularly chipped and the rest had stains on them from the food and sauces they were eating. She starts screaming that she hates my boyfriend. I confront my boyfriend and he gets very upset. He brings up the fact that he caught one of my daughter's friends drumming his guitar a couple of days ago, even though he had said this was his and his alone. He then gets emotional and says it's ridiculous that I would defend someone who is clearly intruding upon his personal property. My daughter continues yelling at him, which gets her in trouble with me, as I told her to calm down and sent her to her room. When I come to give her a dinner, she claims that my boyfriend has also said I was a fool for even thinking of siding with a brat who has never contributed anything to the world and has been leeching off me since she was born. When I ask my boyfriend about it, he says that never happened and she's lying to break us apart. I personally have never heard him say anything like that to her. So I go back to my daughter and ask her to apologise to my boyfriend for disrespecting his property, and she refuses, calling him a bunch of disrespectful names. I subsequently ground her, but say that she'd be free to do as she pleases once she apologises and is willing to start a mature discussion with myself and my boyfriend, since we are a family now. The guitar is very important to my boyfriend, and he felt very hurt that she and her friend were practically rolling their eyes at his wishes. I want my relationship to work. My boyfriend is already stressed from work and is made even unhappier by my daughter's attitude. Am I the arsehole? Man, so this daughter lost her father a year ago and you've already moved in another guy, and he's bringing his friends around and treating the house like it's his. And those plates, man. It was like, as soon as you started talking about the guitar, you like totally just didn't even think about the plates anymore, and it's all your daughter's fault. That daughter must be grieving so hard right now, and to see that, oh, I can't imagine what they're going through. And all I'm hearing is about the boyfriend. I'm afraid you're the arsehole in this situation, but we're going to go down to the comments below and read a couple from there too. Sparkly Unicorn Lady says, "You're the arsehole for moving a boyfriend in your home just a year after your husband and child's father passes away. You're the arsehole for moving a boyfriend into your home who allows his friends to damage your daughter's keepsakes from her father. You're the arsehole for not stopping your boyfriend from making the argument about him and his guitar. You're the arsehole for believing your boyfriend over your daughter. You're the arsehole for taking your boyfriend's side when your daughter is clearly grieving her father. You're the arsehole for asking your daughter to call your boyfriend family after you've only been dating him 5 months and her father's only been dead a year. Just to be clear, there is absolutely no place in this situation where you are not the arsehole. I'm concerned for your daughter's well-being due to your poor judgment, and I'm heartbroken for your daughter's loss of her father, and for how she must feel that now she lost her mother as well. I hope you can put your own love life on the back burner for a couple of years to rebuild the relationship you destroyed with your daughter. If you don't, she's going to cut you out of her life as soon as she can, and with good reason." Wow, I can't really say much to that comment really. I don't think we need any more comments on top of that. That pretty much says it all, and exactly how I feel. I mean, reading that, and it was just like, you're just thinking about the boyfriend the whole time, when this daughter is clearly grieving. Wow. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to vote on the poll in the description. Wow. Our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for wanting to keep my neo-Nazi tattoos? Without getting into my entire life story, I used to be a very bad person. To briefly summarise, my parents never really gave two shits about me, and I fell into some really bad crowds when I was growing up. I got my first tattoo when I was 14. 1488 on my knuckles, and as I got older, I got way more. I got a black sun tattooed on my shoulder, a swastika on my chest and on the back of my neck, a British Free Corps British World War II SS Battalion logo on my forearm, and I have way more, but it's a lot to describe. I'm not going to excuse my behaviour. I was an awful person growing up, and I'm ashamed of that part of my life. For the last decade, I have distanced myself from those people, and I'm moving on and trying to be better. I briefly got into quite a huge argument with a friend over my tattoos. She was aware of my past, but she was shocked to see I still had the tattoos. For me, I like having them. It reminds me of the awful man I used to be, and how far I've come since. I always cover them up in public when I'm around people so they don't get offended. The only one I can't really hide is the 1488 on my knuckles, but it's so crude and faded now, you can't really tell what it is unless you're familiar with it. To me, they have emotional value. It's a constant reminder wherever I go, in the shower. I don't want to cover them up because then I feel like I'm running away from my past rather than accepting who I was and how much I've changed. I tried to tell her this, but she told me that she couldn't be friends with someone who had such disgusting tattoos. This really upset me. She is a lovely person and I want to keep her in my life. She also told some of our mutual friends, and they all recommended I get them removed or tattooed over. Also, she saw them because I took my jumper off accidentally and revealed one on my abdomen, and she asked how many I had. This is how the argument began. She says they're grossly offensive and disturbing. So Reddit, am I the arsehole? Edit, I didn't expect this to blow up so much, lol. It was good to read all this. I really like the idea of one you had. Couldn't find your username, sorry. Of removing most of their tattoos, but leaving little reminders, like one leg of the swastika and the inner ring of the black sun, or having flowers and such tattooed over them. I'm looking into getting this done soon. Thanks for all the brutally honest responses. It's something I needed to read. I never really thought about how vulnerable a person might feel if they saw these, and you're right, there's no reason to keep them on me when they can harm others. And I'm getting the 1488 removed tomorrow. Yeah, I can kind of see it. You've changed, which is an absolutely great thing. And they might be reminders of who you was in the past, but they're also reminders to other people, and eventually someone else will see them, and they can be hugely disturbing to someone that's been through those kind of things, you know. So yeah, I'd have to say you are the arsehole in this situation, but fair play for trying to turn your life around and actually saying you're going to get some of them removed and covered up and things. It can only be a positive thing in the end, right? What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on the poll in the description. Our next story comes from Plain Duck Goose. Am I the arsehole for leaving my boyfriend's house and making him and his kids upset? I have a lot of problems with my boyfriend's daughter, and I've been living with them full time for several months since everything got shut down. After 2 extremely nasty incidents with her that happened recently, I decided it was time for me to spend some time at my own apartment, creating space for myself and my boyfriend's family while allowing me time to process the situation and decide on the next steps forward. Specifically, she said a ton of hurtful things when I tried to care for her when she was sick and tried to manipulate me into changing her friend's grade in my class. I don't know how long I'll be gone, but I'm thinking around 2 to 3 weeks. When I told my boyfriend, I told him that this wasn't a breakup, but I just needed time away from his place and that he was free to come over any time. He seemed a bit upset but understood, and his son had similar reaction when I explained the situation. I'm really close with my boyfriend and his son, and I wish I could have stayed for them. Since his daughter was extremely pissed with me last night, I didn't tell her I was leaving until today, about an hour before I drove off. She saw me moving all my belongings into suitcases and asked why, while giving me a questioning look. I explained that I was going back to my place for the foreseeable future, and didn't give a definite timeline of when I'd be back. She was like, "Oh, okay, I see." What was really strange was that she asked me for a hug before I left. I hugged her briefly and half-heartedly, and then we went our separate ways. In the moment, she didn't seem extremely sad, just a bit confused. However, I've been gone since 11 AM this morning, and my fiance and his son have texted me to say that she hasn't left her room since, or eaten anything since the day began. She apparently hasn't said anything to them either, even when they've asked her what's going on. They say she looks shaken and upset, but hasn't ever said why. I sent her a text asking if she was okay and she read it, but didn't reply. Was I the arsehole for wanting some space for myself and moving out of my boyfriend's place before everything shut down? I didn't want to live with him full time either. I was just there 4 or 5 days a week max and everyone was fine. The son is 14 and the daughter is 16 in a few days. There were some comments below. Apparently the OP posted a different post a couple of days before, this is all discussed in the comments below, that she wanted to move back to her place. And everyone was saying she's not the arsehole, but she needs to tell the family why, so the girl doesn't feel abandoned. But apparently OP ignored that advice and now feels like an arsehole. So I think she kind of should in that situation. Maybe she should have been a bit more clear about what she was saying rather than just leaving the kids up and then leaving. I know she's not strictly the parent, but still, if she's been in her life, or the least she could do is explain, right? What do you guys think of that story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote in the description for story 5. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's stories, and if you did, there's another one on your screen right now, and if you watch that, it will really help out our channel too. Thank you very much for being here today. It is truly appreciated, and I will see you in the next one. Much love guys.